Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
We're taking a look at Ruination by Colossal Games on Kickstarter right now. So there's a lot of different mechanics in this game. To describe it, it's kind of like area conflict with unique action selection, a little bit of engine building in there. But, you know, the best way for us to describe this actually is we do have the designer, Travis Chance, in our studio right now. Travis, come on up here. Come on up. Hey! There he is!
How's it going?
Hey, buddy.
It's not awkward at all. All right, so this is Ruination. This is my most recent game and like the biggest game I've ever made. It's kind of a dudes on a map game where you got minis. You're going to be running around beating the snot out of one another, rolling dice, but you're doing a lot of other cool stuff too. So it's got this interesting action selection system where you only have 3 possible actions you can take on your turn. Your turn is quite literally pick one of these actions and you're going to take the action, but there's a deck of face-up cards. The cards will allow you to move up these 2 tracks, which are very different, and they'll have some sort of like text bonus on it. And you can choose to resolve the action, those 2 tracks, and the text bonus in the order of your choice. And a lot of times it's going to like sync up and let you have these kind of big, meaningful combo-y type moments. You're going to do a little bit of engine building or like kind of what I call baby Civ, where you build out this tableau. There's all these kind of tech cards over here, and they're all unique. They all do crazy different things. They bend the rules in really interesting ways. And everything in this game is like very incremental. So you'll get these little gains across the course of the game. And those little gains by the end of the game, everyone's experience is going to be pretty different.
Travis actually gave me some really cool opportunities to play this game at earlier prototype stage. So it was really interesting to see the ways that it was all him, the ways that it was developed. And I sat there and said, maybe we should do this. And he said, shut up, Tom, I know what I'm doing. The game really did grow, and it got actually kind of refined a little bit. And it got to a really, really cool place. And I think my favorite word for this is just bloody. This game is just a battle every 4 minutes, probably.
Yeah, just about. I mean, because even some of the actions where you're like, okay, I'm going to spawn more guys on the map, that spawning people, if there's people have moved into your territory, you're like, oh, I spawned and now we're going to fight. So there's a fight for that. There's fights for just moving out. If you take the movement action. Yeah,
it's got a really, I would say pound for pound, this might be one of the most high conflict. In a lot of games you have that, I'm going to build up my forces, I'm going to move, and then I'm going to fight. Well, there's this really liberal movement system within the game because pretty much everything is adjacent except for the corners and the center. Everything else is adjacent to each other. So no one is safe. But the game is also very generous in so much that when you move up these tracks, like, here, if I hit the second space on this track, I can just spawn one dude in my home base. So it lets you save time, all that kind of reinforcing, or like, if you want to use nerdy game terminology, the refractory period. It's got a very generous refractory period, so you can bounce back from being wiped off the map. I think at one point, like, you had one guy or something. At one point, I had one guy, and then the next thing I know, I bolster this big army back out of nowhere. So
well, also because with all these cards, like being at only having one guy doesn't mean then if I want to start getting more guys, I can only get 3 guys or 2 guys or whatever. That by picking this card, I can say, this gives me extra dudes right now. Like, it's not just the action of getting new guys, the action of gaining resources, or the action of moving isn't static in any way. Whenever you pick that action, it is modified by the text or by possibly even moving up the track to trigger. And that is cool that you get all those combos too, of being like, well, this is going to move up the track, which triggers this, which makes this better.
And if you have a lot of guys, like there's points where me and Wes had all of our little guys out there. We're like, okay, now it's time to recruit. Oh, well, I can't recruit any extra little guys because you're piece limited and they're already all out there. So like being wiped off, you're really not at a disadvantage because those recruitment cards are most advantageous to you.
Yeah, it's a lot of what the game is really about is trying to figure out when to maximize these things. And because when someone picks a card, a new card comes up, maybe a new opportunity comes up, right?
Yeah, so you can't plan ahead that far because you're like, I know what I would like to do, but I have to see what I can do with the 3 options available to me because they may turn, Tom went before me and he took the card that I wanted. But the other thing with the battling is, especially once you kind of build up your tableau and you have like your own unique stuff going on, you don't even have to care about winning the battles. Like, I'm all about however many dudes I can kill in this battle I'm getting points for. And even if I lose, that doesn't matter to me because all I want to do is go and wipe out as much people as possible.
Yeah.
And with all that battling, you're not even necessarily incentivized to like build up a big force and stay in one place. You really want to keep moving. And there's definitely like choke points and there's strategic points that build on the board because as you're putting bastions
corners.
down and your corners and those things that are going to get you more points. But mid-game, like some things are advantageous to have the bastions because things may trigger that give you points. But there's a lot of points you're going to do better in the game if you don't just like turtle right there and you do just keep moving around and keep just battling as much as you can.
When you're talking about turtling, so I think you use the term area conflict because really you don't control areas for all that long.
Yeah.
Really, it's I have this right now, especially like towards the center. It's like I have it right now, but I'm probably only going to have it for like a turn. Like when I came in here and wiped out Travis here, I put Travis had a big target on his back by having all those bastions there, and then I came in and took it from him. But then I had that huge target on my back. So again, it's like you have a battle every other round, like at maximum. You know,
And even when Travis had like a ridiculously big force, that for a while we're like, well, no one's going to touch that. Like, there's no way we can win. Like 2 rounds later, you had a force that like just came in and wiped them off the map. So even if someone does get that big force, it's not like, well, there's the runaway winner because somebody else could come along, kill all those guys, and then because there were so many guys they were able to kill in one battle, they're able to like you.
Yeah, I was last place for
You
like
were
most
last place,
of the game.
and not like a little bit in last place.
I know, right?
Not on
I
the
was like,
board.
oh man, I might as well just go home. And then I ended I lost by 2 points. That's
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Pretty
but you were behind by 12 points at one point.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty telling. I think the game does. My hope is that the game does a good job of letting you feel fun and there's tension without that whole like, ugh, I have to start all over. Starting over is very easy in the game. Like. There is like the thematic element of like resource scarcity. Yep. Resources are hard to get, but resources are super valuable. Buying these cards and buying the special units, the exiles, like they are your strategy. They're the thing that tailors your strategy. They're what makes your strategy unique. So Tom kind of sat back and accumulated these while the rest of us just sort of ignored these. Yep. And then he got some bonuses for getting them where it made him cheaper and stronger. And then he just rolled in with this one big giant army. You were running around with like just the basic units, but just in mass. Like you just had brute force through using your faction special ability and just having lots of guys. He was spread really thin.
Because he was cleaning everything up, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to go behind you and just put one guy here and one guy here and collect a little bit of resources. Like, I was playing it more like a normal area control. I'm like, look, I have all the area, but nothing to really do with it except, like, I'm going to pick up one can off the ground and one bottle of water over here. Like,
what was interesting is that you were spread out like that, and the game doesn't incentivize people to just attack a weak player because you get victory points. You get victory points equal to the size of the army that you defeated.
Yeah, so having an army of 8 people, 7 people or whatever, and attacking one guy, it's
you're
like...
going to get 1 point.
Yeah.
So it's not really that feel bad. And even when you're getting attacked, you can roll dice, which allows you to trigger abilities, which allows you to progress in the game. If you're higher on this track, you get to roll this special die, which gives you tons of cool opportunities and gains. So there's lots of different strategies. It's not just the typical, I'm going to get a big army, a big cool army, and I'm just going to walk around the board fighting everything. You can spread out. You can try to spread out and be real thin on this and just try to get like little incremental gains and then have big boom boom turns,
You can get a death worm to come fight with you.
Yeah.
So you roll extra yellow dice all the time, which is what I did. So I could have like a small army and like, oh, my worm is still here to protect me.
Yeah. When it was like, I got to recruit an extra guy right here, and I was like, oh, I guess that does trigger a battle, but it's just 1v1 of the smallest unit. That's not that big. So it's just our strength is equal, and we're each rolling 1 die. And you were like, boom, 3 dice. I was like, oh, man.
Well, he would roll the favor die because he was the second highest on the favor track.
Yep.
He would roll the basic die for the 1 unit, and then he would roll the death worm die because he bought the death worm. So he was just with 1 guy, is rolling three dice and whittling down forces, triggering abilities, getting resources, getting blessings, like all kinds of options. So, I mean, that's my hope for this game is that everyone starts off in a very similar situation, and as the game plays throughout, as you start to play the game, you start to get these emergent asymmetry where we end up in a very, very different place from where we started.
Yeah, I was not playing anywhere similar to you guys. Like, I'd never had as many people in one spot as any of you. Like, the most I ever had was 3 in one spot. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good, I guess. And you guys are all marching around with 6. And I had the ability to have 7 in an area. And I was like, I never used that.
You just played poorly. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, it's still tight. It was still a close game.
Yeah, it was. It's very. I mean, it was interesting that on my turn, he triggered an ability which let him deploy, which caused a fight between you and him, not on my turn.
Yeah.
So you guys on my turn are getting to do things and have fun,
Yeah.
fight each other, maybe advance in the game a little bit. So even though the theme is the post-apocalypse, like I think the main thing about this game that I wanted is I want people to feel like they're advancing on multiple fronts at all times, and they're never behind. You're never just in a hole and you can't get out.
And the battling is streamlined enough that like the turns don't take forever. So even in a 4-player game, like you stayed relatively engaged because one, you never know who's going to attack you, and two, like the game moves fairly quickly. But it also, with the engine building, it left enough time that you felt like you could build something out. It wasn't like I was so close to building a good engine that it was almost fun and then it ended.
So there is a lot of battling in the game, and it is dice battling. And now, actually, I do think that dice combat is generally my favorite type of combat in most war games. I remember a game we were playing recently. I think it was Tiny Epic Mechs, where I was like, it's a interesting card combat system, but like dice combat is just always the apex of like, I have this whole handful of dice, let's see what happens, and boom. There is a lot of mitigating because you do have all these favorite tokens. You can spend 1 to reroll 1, 2 to reroll a whole bunch, and then 3 to specifically pick a die and put it on exactly what you want, which even Travis was like, well, I'm really confident that I'm going to get to roll the thing that I want, so I'll just spend 1 and roll, I didn't get it. I'll spend another, and then roll, I didn't get it. I'm going to spend another, and then, I should have just spent 3!
Yeah, because they were victory points at the end. And the interesting thing is there are 2 sides that have blanks, but what happens is you get the blessing token at the end of the fight for each blank you have. So if you have a crappy turn, it gives you the resources to have a better turn later.
And the blessing tokens aren't just for battle rolling, because there's other times where you roll dice, there's card effects and stuff, and you can use those at any time. So there's one card where I got to like roll dice at the beginning, like before the battle even initiated, to wipe out some of the guys in the thing, and I could use my like blessing tokens in that phase, or I could save them up for the actual battles. Yeah. There's some like, do I want to use it now and maybe it's going to be good, or can I use it later and then use these abilities on my deck that could be even better? So there's some really cool choices you get to make.
Yeah, it's all, and the thing I think that's interesting is you really just have these 3 actions, right? You get resources, you move your guys, you get more guys.
And if everybody's kind of doing the same thing, if everybody's just getting resources, we're going to run this deck out and end the game too soon. So nobody's going to want to push towards that. You're going to want to spread out between the 3 actions, or it's going to be a really short game, and nobody's going to ever do anything. Like, I thought that was interesting that, like, we can't just keep taking the same actions.
Yeah.
That ability, the fact that you're gathering, growing, expanding, it almost, I think this is a game that 4X people would like as well. Like, it's not, like, true 4X, but I definitely see, like, those people are going to be drawn to this, because it has the battling that feels like 4X. You still have the resource gathering. You're still trying to expand.
Yeah.
So
it's 4X-ish.
Yeah.
3X.
4X-esque.
Yeah, because you can't eliminate somebody from the game completely. So that's one of the X's is gone.
I think for me, like I really like Civ games, so I definitely wanted to have an element of Civ. So in the Colossal, the developer Chris Ham, he's the one who was calling it Baby Civ. So he's like, it's weird. It's almost like you have a Civ element because you build out your tech tree, but you have this very small tech tree, but it's super meaningful because each one of these cards gives you, it's a layered effect, right? So you get an ongoing persistent effect, and then you tailor the tactic that you get to use with the dice. So when you start to use your dice, now you get the printed ability on your board, and then you get the additional ability, so you can combo that up. So Tom ended up having this machine gun effect where his faction's ability was they inflicted an additional casualty, and so anytime you're going to a fight, he just gets to use 2 of the tactics, the stars, and he kills 3 guys. Well, the army limit for a normal army, not yours, is 6. So he can kill half of your best army with just 2 stars. You're like, oh, cool.
Yeah, and I had the 2-star one where I could kill off 2 people, and for every non-grunt guy I killed, I would get a victory point.
Yeah.
So it really made it that I wanted to target those big, beefy armies. I didn't want to just take the grunts that were your cannon fodder. I wanted to go after the hard people that even if I didn't win, if I killed a bunch off, I'd still end up walking away with victory points.
Yeah, this game uses a lot of very simple mechanisms that all meaningfully intersect. So you can very easily, there's nothing that's super polarizing where you're like, oh, I don't really want that because I'm not really doing this thing.
Yeah.
You're always like, oh, that's always good. And when I put it here, it's better. If I put it here, it's maybe not as good as it was there, but it's still good.
So obviously, if you're a fan of dudes on a map type games like I am, I'm a big fan of like Cyclades and Kemet and Mezzo.
Blood Rage.
But well, for me, I don't know if I'm
But
on the
it's
Blood
similar
Rage
to
train.
that. It's like
it is
on steroids.
At least
Blood Rage.
the board is where like you feel really tight and close, and there are
Blood
big
Rage
monsters.
people are gonna like this.
Blood Rage people are gonna like this. I'm not necessarily a Blood Rage person, but I still do think Blood Rage people are going to like this. This isn't as swingy as Blood Rage, I would definitely say. I've really enjoyed this game ever since I first sat down and played the prototype like a year ago. I really like the changes that have been made, and the way it looks right now is awesome. The only thing I don't like about it is spending time with the designer, but I mean, what are you gonna do?
I do appreciate games where like your strategy can change drastically in the game and you can still do well. If you want to play just super cutthroat and bloody and just murder the entire time, this game rewards you. If you want to spend a bunch of time gathering resources and just like making your civilization stronger, this game rewards you. And I think that's really cool that it's kind of something for no matter how you want to play it.
It's a lot of fun. Click on the link in the description box down below to get yourself a copy. Go to the Kickstarter. Back this guy's game. It's awesome. We had a ton of fun playing it. You're going to have a ton of fun playing it.
So click that link.
So click that link.
That was a good ending. All right.
And after you click that link, make sure, probably before you click that link actually, because once you click it, you're going to leave the page.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
Finger guns.
There's so many asses down here. How do I don't even understand how I'm going to stand up. This is going to be so awesome.